So here we are. This is going to be a brief overview of Total War Battles Kingdom. It is a very mobile focused game developed by the Creative Assembly, who also developed many of the other Total War games, if not all of them, and it's published by Sega. Now, the premise behind this game is it's really going to appeal to the very casual market, people who are playing on mobile devices, and people who just have a little bit of time to spend on the game every now and then. It's nothing too hardcore, which means that fans of previous Total War titles are probably not going to like it, and I've definitely seen this reflected in the reviews of the game on Steam. Some of the reviews are simply scathing. They can't believe that the Creative Assembly would ever develop a game such as this. Now, I personally take a different approach to it. Why must the Creative Assembly only develop hardcore games? I mean, they may have a reputation similar to Paradox in the sort of games they develop, but there's no reason why they can't branch out and appeal to other markets. After all, the mobile market, whether you like it or not, is a growing market, and it's a very lucrative market, which makes it rather ideal for the Creative Assembly to move in this direction, especially given the fact that they're published by greedy Sega. But since it's currently in open beta, and it is currently only available on the PC, interestingly enough. So right now I'm playing the Steam version of the game. There isn't any other, but according to the development blog, they're planning on releasing it on both Android and iOS in sometime in the future, probably after it goes gold, but I guess we'll see. So the premise behind this game is a bit like the other Total War games, where you build an empire and you also fight battles. Now, the empire itself is not turn-based, and the interesting thing about Total War is I really don't have much experience with the other titles, so I will refrain from comparing the two, and I'll try to do an overview that a player fresh to the series would. I probably put a total of 4 hours into Total War Rome and Total War Medieval 2. So that's where I'm coming from. That's the background I have with Total War. I actually like this game quite a bit, and I like the artwork. This is the first game that I've actually seen who has used this very stained glass artwork style for the UI. If you'll notice here, the build menu you got for building farms, woodcutters, all kinds of buildings. It is actually busted up a bit to make it look like they're stained glass windows. And I think that's very original. I haven't seen that in other RTS titles. Then you also notice the resources here. They appear on the map once you have harvested them. They look a bit like something you'd see in a tabletop game, don't they? Like little round ships. But you can collect them by clicking on them individually, or by holding the building that they were harvested for, and just holding it down and giving it a click like that. So once again, that sort of plays into the whole touchscreen aspect of the game, because I imagine people pressing and holding a building for a period of time to collect all the resources. Collecting all the resources around it that it's gathered. So this is very peaceful right now. You got some farms here, and what else? We got a quarry. You can log trees, I guess I saw. Here, the blacksmiths make silver. So the resources, there are 4 different resources that you can actually make on the map. 5 counting gold, but gold is more of the game's currency resource that is used to speed up things, to expedite processes. And it is the currency that you end up buying from the Creative Assembly, from the people who did the game, because this is a free-to-play title. So this is a sub-segment of the regular Total War titles, like I said. It's known as the Total War Battles franchise, essentially. There's another one called Total War Battles Shogun. You may have remembered that one appearing on certain devices a couple years ago, I believe it was. So then here you have the quarry. Now the quarry can mine several different types of stones. I have coal, silver, and of course stone. Coal and silver, well, coal gives you crafting material, and silver gives you gold, believe it or not. Once you mine the silver, it turns into gold bars. So how, I guess the question a lot of people will be wondering about is how free to play is the game actually, because that's the model that they're touting, the monetary model. And a game that is just too pay to win in terms of combat is not going to really appeal to a lot of people. Now, the only way you actually end up playing against other players, despite this being touted as an MMO, is through the duel screen, where you can find a match. The game automatically matches you up with one other player. And so far I've played 3 duels, and it appears to match you up with players of a similar rank. So hopefully there isn't too much of an experience gap there. I mean, you wouldn't want to be matched up with somebody who is level 49 and you're only level 5. That wouldn't make any sense. And that's often the problem in real-time strategy games that aren't as well known, is that they'll match you up with players that you really have no chance of winning against. Out of the games I've played, I've won 1 and lost 2. So a lot of the game is focused on very player versus environment stuff, and the battles are as well. For the battles I haven't unlocked campaign yet. Apparently that's going to be unlocked once the game goes gold, but there really isn't any information regarding that. And that's one of my big complaints about the game currently, is there is a true lack of any information. About the only information I can glean from the game is that which is found in the little expanded menu that comes along with the buildings and terrain. Basically anything you click on is going to have an expanded menu for it, which gives you a little bit of additional information, but most of the time it is not nearly enough for you to really know what you're doing. For example, if I click on the barracks here, it shows icons. Now, the icons don't have tooltips because it's a touch-oriented interface, so they just show like a castle and a church, and that's pretty apparent. I'm right next to my keep, so I imagine the castle means the keep, and of course the church was built right here, so I imagine that's what that means. But there are some other symbols that aren't quite as apparent. For example, here you have the blacksmith, and if you add another building next to this one that is a market, the peasants will come to it a little bit quicker. So I'm a little bit disappointed, I guess you could say, that the game really has no documentation. If you go to the games menu, there is tech support and forums. There isn't even like a wiki that you can browse that lists all this information. The Creative Assembly has started a wiki, but it is very, very basic. Not nearly good enough to answer any substantial questions you might have about how the game works on a larger scale. Different strategies and stuff. There's no comprehensive documentation for it yet, but that is rather understandable because, like I said, the game is still in beta and things are likely to change over time. So I'm going to show you the battles, and most of the battles are player versus environment, and anybody who is a fan of Total War is probably really interested in the battles and the tactics you can employ in them. Now, this is a very player versus environment game that I've noted anyway, and there are 2 basic types of battles. There's the battle quests, which is a little like, they're like mini campaigns, and then of course they're just random missions that you can fight. And the idea behind fighting these random missions is that you'll be rewarded with some experience and some goods. So if you're low on resources at the time, especially silver, I've noticed, if you're low on those resources, this is a great way to actually create more of them. You know, it's like farming military style, which is great, I think, because far too often, a lot of these sort of games like Ebony Online or Travian, they focus too much on just building up your economy for like 2 months before you actually ever get to do any fighting. And I believe I did make a mistake a little bit earlier. Mining silver gives you silver. I don't think it gives you gold. Yeah, right there it says it. If you click on silver, it says gives you, it's gained from silver deposits, and that's what this is. So just to correct that, no, you don't get gold from mining silver deposits, because I was a little bit confused by that. Okay, back to the missions. Let's choose this easy battle. That way I don't have to worry too much about sucking at it. Nah, I'm just kidding. You can win the norm easily enough. So now this is one of the very pay-to-win parts of the game. Is right here where you have the battle support. For the first 12 seconds, you're given the option of buying additional perks for in-game gold. And the problem with doing this is that, okay, the problem with doing that is it allows people who have more money to essentially bring in reinforcements every game. And I think this is a potential problem, but I don't know if it's as big a deal as I'm making out of it. Now, you'll notice here, you can't actually directly control any of the units. They're set to march on a forced pattern. You're not going to be able to switch them around. Well, they don't have the same freedom of movement, that's for sure. But they do have different abilities. Like right there, I clicked an ability. I have a whole bunch of passive abilities to launch. These that protected the archers from enemy fire. There are no enemy archers firing at me, so that's not going to be a problem. But there are a whole bunch of little tactics that you can apply to beef up, to bolster your units when they're fighting, and make them more effective. Here you have the artillery. I can fire a ballista up at these other units. The charge ability, it allows you to, depending upon how good you are, it allows you to charge the enemy. And if you get a good score, I'm not even sure what it does, but it feels good, you know. It's like there should be a purpose to it, and I think there is. So people who are fans of the other Total War games will probably bemoan the lack of real maneuverability in this game. I personally don't think it's a problem, because that's not the market they are appealing to with this game. As you can see, this is very touch focused. All the commands here would easily be accessible on a tablet and possibly even a phone. So in that aspect, it is perfect, because that is the market that they are trying to appeal to with this game, and they have succeeded in doing that. So no, this game is not for people who really love the older games and were interested in the sort of combat you found in those. It's very basic. Like I said, the Total War Battles franchise focuses very heavily. Okay, I think we won. It focuses very heavily on the mobile market with titles like Total War Shogun. And to be honest, this game looks much better than Total War Shogun. If they can actually bring graphics to mobile devices that look anything like this, it's going to look superb. And I imagine you might even be able to play it on the phone. So, right there you had a battle. Now, a lot of the battles are like that, and the maximum number of units you can actually hold are 9. And one of them has to be a siege weapon. Now, this is very interesting, because in a lot of other games, your units would die after a defeat, or even after a victory. The units that got injured would die. Not the case in this game. In this game, all your units, it's like a mini RPG in this sense. All your units gain experience. You can upgrade them and give them You can upgrade them and give them additional perks. Here you have different attributes. I don't have enough XP to upgrade them right now. You can also buy equipment for them or craft the equipment. Now this is great, because at first I thought that you could only buy it for gold. And I was saying, man, this is terribly pay to win. But that's not true. You can actually go to a craft menu and use crafting materials to craft the armor instead of actually having to buy it. And you notice it costs a fair bit of crafting material, but for people who don't have the gold to spend on it, there are definitely ways to achieve the same perks, I guess you could say. So far, the only perk I've noticed that wasn't accessible via regular game resources was right in the beginning of the battle when you're asked to provide battle support. And even then, you do get free gold every day. So you would be able to call in battle support probably maybe 2 to 3 battles each day. So it's not a big deal, but that is one aspect of the game that I thought was a little bit too pay to win compared to the rest of it. But overall, the game is pretty balanced, I think, in that regard. Yes, you're going to have players who can spend a lot of money. They're going to have more powerful troops, of course, but you'll get there if you have the patience, I guess you could say. So no, it's not free to play like Dota or LoL or Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike isn't free to play, but it doesn't make the bulk of its money from superficial customizations like skins and stuff. Although you can buy those, a lot of the money I think they're going to be making is from hurrying things along. Now, the build times aren't too bad in most things. For example, when you do farming, it only takes about 5 minutes for it to harvest the wheat. And yes, you can hurry it along for 1 gold, but 5 minutes isn't too bad the wait. It's not hours and hours. There are some things that you do that do require hours to, like houses. It takes hours for them to house peasants, and you can complete it or you can hurry it along by once again paying gold. But I think that really detracts from how this game was designed to be played, and that was in short bursts, nothing too long. They wanted to attract people who have a couple of minutes, well, maybe 5 or so minutes here and there throughout their day, who have a tablet with them. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to actually be on a phone, but definitely tablets. Who have a tablet with them, who can just sit down for a few minutes and waste some time playing this game. And I think that's really the market it is catering. That's the demographic it's catering to, and it does a pretty decent job in my opinion. The hardcore fans might not like it, but I think it shows some great promise. I just wish maybe that there was a bit more of a player versus player aspect to the game, because as far as I can tell, this side of the game with the economy and everything is very sim-like. There's no reason to actually build walls or anything. I mean, right here you can build walls. Why would you build walls? Nobody can actually attack your castles or anything. There are no castle sieges. All the combat is simply done on a 9x9. Well, it's done on a grid battlefield with a total of 18 units maximum. So there are no castle sieges or anything like that, and I don't get the reason why you'd want to build walls. I've heard you can be invaded by bandits, but I would imagine that would just plop down a bandit camp somewhere here. I don't think they're actually going to destroy any of the empire that you built. So that makes this side of the game, the economy side, very sim-like. And you can do stuff like lower and raise the terrain. So there's a lot of landscaping you can do, which is great. It's different. It's not often you see that in real-time strategy games like this, where you can actually do some like SimCity style landscaping. You can control where the water flows, all that stuff. I think that's great. So I've played this game for about 12 hours now. I have 2 small kingdoms here. I've learned some stuff about it. I really like it. It's still in beta right now, but I think it shows a lot of promise, especially as the kind of game that you can just waste a few minutes on in between doing other things. Like I'll be playing a different game or I'll be doing something else and there's a wait period. Well, you can open up this game and you can harvest some of your wheat. You can make sure your stone is still being harvested. Maybe you'll fight a battle. Battles don't take that long. I'd say at most 5 minutes. Even some really tense ones with all the units there are, 18. But that's what this game caters to, and I think it does very well at that. And I can't wait to see it come out on mobile devices. So this has been like a first impressions overview of Total War Battles Kingdom. And that's a mouthful, I think. I wish it was shorter. It takes a bit to remember that. But this is Total War Battles Kingdom. It's been a short overlook. You can Download it, free to play on Steam right now, and it will be coming to mobile devices sometime later. I don't know if there's an ETA for that. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.